Hello and welcome to the Marketing Mission, a podcast hosted by us here at Buzz Marketing. My name is Nico Freer. I'm the creative director here.
And my name is Seth Van Dale. I am the director of sales down here at Buzz Marketing.
We've been doing this for about 10 years. We wanted to kind of share our experiences with small business owners and other marketing professionals that are looking for some tips and some tricks. So we thought we'd get down here in the Buzz studio and kind of get to work.
Yeah, so welcome, and I appreciate you tuning in. Today's topic is going to be about the power of social media. Nico, what is the power of social media?
Well, first, let's talk about why that makes sense to be the first episode. When you think about marketing as a whole for your business, you can kind of make sense of why advertising might be something you want to do,
right,
or why you need a good website, right? Social media has a lot more question marks than a lot of some of these other things. And I think as a starting point, kind of showing you what we can do as far as illuminating some of these, the mystery behind it, makes sense for us to start here.
So, Nico, let's go over the segments that we're going to cover in this episode.
Okay, sounds like a plan. The first thing that we're going to talk about is picking your platform. So, what social networks kind of make sense for you and your business. After that, we're going to talk about what it means to be consistent, because that can mean a couple different things when it comes to social media. We're going to cover some hot trends or trends that you should be aware of. We're going to talk about some helpful software, run you through those, give you some quick tips that you can action. Just, you can pick those up today, and wrap things up with some listener questions. So we got a couple of our clients sent in questions for us for his first episode, and we can touch on those.
Awesome. So now let's talk about picking your platform, Nico. What exactly does that mean, and how can business owners, take that and run with it?
Okay, so when you're thinking about what platform you should use, you got to start with some audience research, right? Because that's the main thing.
Right.
Like the most obvious example is B2B versus B2C. If you're selling business to business, LinkedIn is one of your primary platforms, and if you're selling business to consumer, you may not even touch LinkedIn, right?
Right.
Age range, younger demographics skewing towards things like Instagram and TikTok.
Yep.
Older demographics skewing towards Facebook, for example. So you should know who your audience is, and if you haven't, that's a huge exercise that you should be doing for your entire marketing plan, right?
Find out your ideal customer.
Exactly.
Their age range.
And this applies to social media, but applies to so much more as well. But do what your personas will like, not do what you would like, right?
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you're good at Instagram or you're good at Facebook and that's where you're comfortable, if that's not where your audience is, then don't
You need to switch things.
Yeah, exactly right.
Towards your audience, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to Facebook and TikTok and Snapchat and LinkedIn, what are some strengths and weaknesses from each social platform compared to the next?
That is a good question. So the different platforms kind of mesh best with different types of content, right? So when you think of LinkedIn, for example.
I think of long blog articles.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
Informative. You don't see a ton of kind of behind the scenes fun stuff on there.
No, it's very corporate.
Right, because you're trying to represent your company as this professional entity.
Yeah.
Whereas on something like LinkedIn or something like Instagram,
yeah,
you would have that kind of behind the scenes stuff, right?
Even TikTok more so.
TikTok more so, right? Where you're showing just kind of some of the goof off stuff, or a staff lunch, or it's someone's birthday. Anything that is fun and kind of engaging should be on your social media somewhere, right? Don't miss an opportunity in a sense, right? Where if you have something going on at the office or on the job site, record it, right? Take a photo of it, whatever it is, and get it out there. But then just picking what channel makes the most sense with that content, right?
Well, I'm just thinking our most viewed piece of content that we've ever put out was just a simple behind the scenes post on TikTok that was 5 seconds long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and that's
hundreds of thousands of views.
And that's because it was kind of fun, quick, relatable, right? If you're going to do kind of that, capitalizing on current trends, that's the place to do it, right? You wouldn't take a trending sound for a reel or a TikTok and then post that across to your LinkedIn, right? Or
absolutely
like
not.
across Twitter, for example. The other thing to consider is like organic reach, right? So paid versus not paid, different platforms have kind of started trending away or towards giving you more reach for free. Facebook's the prime example of a platform that's kind of gone away from what you can do for free, right? Like their whole business model now is it's off of ads
Really?
and boosted posts, and you don't need to spend a ton of money to get decent reach through a boosted post, but you're not even going to hit your whole like organic audience. Let's say you have a Facebook page with 1,000 followers. If you make a post, I will guarantee you that not all 1,000 people are going to see it, and probably not even half, right?
Yeah.
So they make you pay a little bit of money to be able to to boost it. It's great for growing your page because you don't need to put a ton of money behind it, but you do need to put some. So if you're kind of like cash strapped, or this is like something that you're not budgeting for, then like maybe look away from Facebook. Instagram, as kind of like a subsidiary of Facebook, suffers from a very similar
I've noticed that, like, even compared to a few years ago, I'd make a post organically on my Instagram and I would get tons of likes. But compared to now, maybe that's my engagement rating has gone down or whatever it may be, but I get like a quarter of the amount of likes as I used to.
Yeah, and like something like TikTok where people just post randomly, they don't have any audience, they don't have, any fans.
And the algorithm just picks it up and runs.
It picks it up and runs with it. It's different algorithms prioritizing different things, right? And that's what you can do is you can kind of play off the different platforms and what they're prioritizing. Things like Instagram, YouTube's this way as well.
Yeah.
If you are a creator that puts out consistently good stuff, and we'll talk about consistency in a sec, but if you put out a lot of good stuff, that's what the algorithm prioritizes, and that's why they'll serve you. Whereas something like TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, you don't need to have a great hit rate. Right. You just need this one thing that you've put out
to go viral,
to be super engaging, right? So if the first 90% of the people that see this watch it all the way through, for example, that's going to then start to balloon. Whereas on certain platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they don't really give you that chance, right? They need to see a track record from you before they will kind of like
push you organically.
Because what they want is they want people to like you and not your content, so that they subscribe to you or they follow you and then come back to their platform over and over to see what you're doing, right? So it's just different approaches to that type of thing. So we can kind of jump right over to consistency, because the main thing here is that you need to build a habit. It doesn't matter what platforms you're going to use. It just has to be part of your routine. I don't know what the stat is. I think it's like you need to do something consistently for 100 days, and then it just becomes a habit to you, right? It's second nature.
I believe that if I may stand corrected on this, but I'm pretty sure it's 60 days consistently to build a habit.
So somewhere in that range, right? But just like take your lumps for the first couple months, right? Whatever it is, just do it, right?
Like push through it. You're not going to want to do it, but you need to get through that to build that habit.
Like the Shia LaBeouf meme, right? It was like, just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just do it, right? Like get your social media out there. Post, even if it's not great stuff, just get in the habit of logging in, scheduling your stuff, posting your stuff, checking comments. You don't need to spend a ton of time doing it. I think there's a misconception out there.
It takes 10 minutes to go through it. Literally.
Exactly.
Throw a post up, respond to some comments and DMs. Just be consistent.
You're waiting for a meeting to start, someone's running a little bit late. You don't need to make this huge concerted effort, but you do need to do it consistently. So habit building is like critical. We talked a little bit about why that's important for the algorithms. Again, to double back to that, is that for your Instagrams, for your Facebooks, for your YouTubes, they want you to be posting on a consistent basis because they want to entice people to come back, right? So they're going to start showing your stuff more and more and more because they know that you're going to be, they don't want to have a sunken cost by promoting this guy, and then all of a sudden he doesn't use their platform anymore, and they could have given that opportunity to someone else who does. Right? So you're not going to start getting great returns organically unless you're consistent, and even then, you're up against a bunch of other people that are doing it consistently. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of like the first to flinch. Don't stop.
So then what kind of content should be getting posted out there, right? Because like you can post the same stuff over and over and over again, but eventually your followers will get bored of that, right?
Yeah, and from a consistency standpoint, right? We're kind of chatting about consistency. Like your brand consistency is a key into what type of content are you going to post.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need to put things out that feel like your brand, right? So it doesn't need to be like this crazy graphic design, takes 20 minutes to make sure all the colors are perfect or whatever.
Right.
But you should have kind of like, a look and feel to your stuff that's consistent. If you look at anybody's, or anyone who's doing a good job, I should say, if you look at kind of like their Instagram grid, for example,
Right.
you should be able to see that they've got like, that all looks somewhat
Similar, right?
Right. It
Like, if
doesn't
you look at our page, it's got like all the buzz branding.
Yeah, exactly. It's like clearly these guys are putting out like stuff that looks and feels consistent, and that means as soon as someone scrolls across it on their feed,
Oh, that's a buzz post.
they clock it as yours, right? And we'll talk about kind of why you might want to be doing social media in general.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about brand consistency, you want your stuff to be instantly recognizable as yours, because not everyone's going to pay attention to every post you put out. But if there's some type of subliminal or subconscious just like register of, hey, that was company X,
Yeah.
that's all you need, right? Because the whole point of social media is that
Staying top of mind.
Yeah, staying top of mind. You're not going to get someone seeing a funny post that you did and then sliding into your DMs the next day saying, hey, I need a website, right? But what is going to happen is they're going to see your stuff over an 18-month period. They're not even going to realize that they were really being exposed to you all this much. And then when they realize they need a new website, oh, I know those guys.
Yeah.
I see them all the time. That's who I'm going to reach out to, right? It kind of establishes a bit of trust.
Absolutely.
And you can't really do that unless you have a consistent look and feel throughout your content.
Right.
Because if you're changing your branding every 2 months, or you're not being consistent with the actual posts, well, then you're kind of losing that trust at the same time.
Right, and like you should be able to kind of steer your content towards your audience, right? Like find something that works. When we're talking about that, it's not only just how like the aesthetic of it is, the design, but it's the messaging too, right? Like find what works for your audience and be consistent with that. Because if you're noticing kind of like record engagements on certain formats of content, right?
Yeah.
If you're putting out like, let's say, carousels on Instagram that are super informative and people are responding to that, like don't stop, right?
Absolutely.
Like, be consistent with what's working. Do a little bit of research on your competition, right? See what they're doing. See what posts they've put out that get
Get the
get
most
engagement.
Yeah, absolutely.
and see what is kind of failing, right? Like see what your competition puts out that gets 0 likes, 0 comments, and just kind of gets lost in the soup. Because
steer away from
yes,
that. Yeah.
exactly, all right. You're going to steer away from that.
Great. So moving on, let's talk about some trends to be aware of, especially now in 2023 with the way that things are going. Everybody's into these short form videos right now. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Short form videos is the biggest thing, right? We talked about it a little bit off the top of the show, but every social media platform is adding some type of tool to take advantage of short form video, right? Like kind of the emergence of TikTok over the last couple of years has shown all these other platforms that like, oh, that is something we need to be doing because that's
Reels, YouTube Shorts,
It's-
even Snapchat.
yeah, everyone's doing it, right? Like you even said that like Google's integrating Reels into like a search function
Yeah.
in one of their upcoming releases, which, if you would have said that sentence 2 years ago, you would have sounded like a lunatic, right?
You would have laughed at.
Yeah. Like short form video is so engaging, right? And so easy to kind of get lost in going to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
Squirrel brain.
Yeah, exactly. Squirrel brain, which is why it's such a big trend right now.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go anywhere because all these platforms are trying to do is keep your eyes on their screen, right?
Hold your attention as long as possible.
And this is like the easiest and most effective way to do it, right?
It's just constantly switching topics,
Exactly.
which keeps you intrigued.
Yes.
Yeah.
So short form video, regardless of your audience, use short form video, utilize short form video, find a way to frame content around 45 to 60 second, sometimes even less, right? 20-second clips that make a lot of sense for your demographic, but find a way to do it because it's huge. Another thing that that all the platforms seem to have adopted recently is like social commerce. And what I mean by that is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. There's all ways to kind of buy through these platforms now where there never used to be.
Notice
right?
that.
You would have to click through to your website or to your an Amazon
A
or something like
redirect.
that. Yeah, and then you facilitate the checkout at that point. There's a big drive towards these guys not pushing you away from their websites
Keeping
or their
you on
platforms,
platform.
right? Yeah. So you can like enter your payment information through Facebook now and stuff like that.
I
right?
noticed that actually. I bought myself and my girlfriend an anniversary gift right through Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's something that I had never done before.
It's relatively new, yeah. And if you have things that you could be selling, right? If you're a retail outlet or if you have goods and services that make sense to sell online, start integrating that through your organic channels, right? Because it's just another sales channel for you. And anytime that these platforms release features like this, they prioritize them, right? So if you have a post that's got a level of commerce connected to it versus the exact same post without it, it's a good bet that they're going to favor that one because they're trying to introduce this feature to more and more people.
Well, one thing just to touch on that is I've noticed, especially in the clothing industry, you're now able to go in and add a tag to what that item is, and it'll link you to the shop, right? So like, say there's like a female model, right? And she's wearing a shirt and she's wearing some pants. You can actually put a tag to that exact shirt and those exact pants to your catalog page, to that direct item.
Yeah, so there's like that whole kind of, they're calling it social commerce, but that whole trend is just starting to gather steam. And the last kind of trend that you should kind of be capitalizing on wherever you can is kind of like this nostalgic throwback type of like marketing messaging that a lot of companies are trying to do. Some people are calling it like faux nostalgia or nostalgia because it's not actually nostalgic, right? But for example, up here in Canada where we are, Zellers was a big department store that kind of went bankrupt.
I remember Zellers when I was like 10.
Yeah, so like they went bankrupt, over a decade ago, and they shuttered all their shops. And I think I can't remember exactly who it was, but kind of like bought the name. They're bringing him back. They're doing Zellers is meant to come back like this year. They're opening like a couple satellite stores to try it out. They're like moving them towards e-commerce and stuff like that. But like they're bringing that back. A lot of brands that sort of weren't popular but were around in the 90s, those are coming back around.
How can business owners kind of capitalize on that and use that for themselves?
So the kind of secret sauce to that is you got to kind of connect old ideas with whatever you're doing. So if you think of what was, how were things being presented 15, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
And what is, what are you selling or what is your approach to the market? And how can you kind of try to fake blend those two things together? Because it doesn't even necessarily need to like present as authentic.
Right.
It just needs to kind of have that air of nostalgia around it because people are like, oh, I remember that. And then they kind of like hooked into what you're saying, right?
So how could we use that as a marketing agency, or how could we use that in a real world example for somebody?
Okay, so let's use us as an example. We do a lot of video production, multimedia, like down here in the studio and elsewhere, right? If you think about what media production looked like around like the turn of the millennium, you had those,
right?
you had those big like over the shoulder cameras, right? Like running on tape, like crazy headphones, right? All the tech that you were using at that point was like way different than it is now. So if you were to shoot some type of a promotion for our multimedia services, you could hook into that kind of like old nostalgia kind of, approach to creating multimedia and pretending that that was like what you were actually doing, right? So you could have people come into the studio, shoot a fake promo where
the
you're
big
using
bulky camera.
Yeah, you're
I
using all
imagine
this
that,
old
like,
stuff.
the movie thing. What do you call
The
this?
clapper.
The clapper.
Or the slate, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So just, framing what you do around all this old stuff. No one would see that and then think, oh, these guys like make all their content with ancient tech.
No.
They would just see that and find it fun and entertaining and engaging, right?
Yeah.
So the whole kind of the approach or the goal is to try and make things that feel old without them actually being old, right?
Right.
Because we would put like some type of fake kind of like
Filter
wavy,
on it,
yeah,
yeah,
right. That's kind of the approach there.
Okay, I like that. So think about some ideas on how you can implement that into your business and capitalize on the trend.
The next thing that we want to chat with you guys about is helpful software, right? We kind of spoke a little bit previously on how it can seem like a daunting task, but it really only takes like 10, 20 minutes of your day.
Realistically, yeah.
If that even seems like a lot to you, there are ways to kind of expedite the process by using different pieces of software.
Automate
right?
it all.
Yeah, and a lot of these things are free. Some of them aren't, some of them are. But, none of them are going to break the bank, right? They're meant to sign up a guy for $8 a month who's going to pay it forever.
And forget
then,
about it.
Yeah,
exactly.
and then they sign up like 2 million guys and they're rich, right? So the first kind of tool that you should know about or think about using is like a design tool like Canva, right?
Absolutely. It's such an entry-level software.
Yeah.
Anybody can go in there and use it. You can go in, you can create logos, you can create social media posts. I believe you can even do video editing and animation in there.
Yeah, they've got it's like a bunch of very rudimentary editors tools. I don't personally use it because I have like an education and background in using all
You
the
can
other
use
softwares.
Adobe, right?
Yeah. So I don't use it a ton, but it is easy enough for the layman to be able to log in there, use existing templates or things that they find that have some style to it that kind of resonates with what you think your audience would like. And then you have something that you can consistently put out. We talked about consistency. And you have something that looks good, right?
Exactly.
Because if you're not a designer and you're not paying someone to design it and you're going to try to take a crack at it yourself,
That's the best way.
and it's a huge gamble if you're going to try and like learn a Photoshop or trying to do something cool in MS Paint.
You're going to have to sink so many hours
download
into
some
catching
app,
up.
right?
Exactly, and take
Like-
all this training just to catch up, right? Whereas you can go into Canva, and within your first day, you could probably pump out 10 social media
Yeah,
posts.
if you have the assets to bring into it, you have your photos, you put them through like this
it
template,
makes it so easy to
and
mix
and
match.
it looks good, right? And that's the biggest thing is stuff that looks pro, and Canva's huge for that, right? The other piece of software, there's more than two, but the other kind of major one for a social media approach is like a posting dashboard.
Yeah.
Right? So somewhere where you could hook all your accounts through one thing and it's going to enable you to cross-post a lot of your stuff, right? That's huge. Make one post and then fire it across Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you determine makes sense for that piece of content.
Yeah.
But it also allows you to get kind of updated analytics, right? It's more in-depth reporting than something like just your Instagram insights.
It also can eliminate that 10 minutes a day, right? Where you can actually go in and say you have 2 hours every Sunday. You can go in and load your entire week or next 2 weeks with posts that just automatically go out.
Yeah, and that's the big one, right? That's where these things are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
Is a lot of them, if you're a business person, you have your business and that's it. They may not even charge you, right? They charge people like us who run these
30
accounts for
accounts,
a lot of people so that we can connect a ton of things through it.
Yeah.
But if you've got like just I'm the businessman, I'm the businesswoman, this is my account, it's free or it's, as I said, like less than $8 a month. And you can, like, as you said, build your entire month, 2 months, 3 months out in advance. And it also allows you to sort of prepare, right? A lot of people kind of get trapped around the holidays when they are, I should be putting out some Christmas stuff. Well, if you know you have a tool that allows you to schedule your Christmas stuff a month in advance, then, you're all of a sudden not worried in November.
Scattering
Yeah,
last
you're not
minute.
scattered.
Yeah.
You plan for it in November because as soon as you work your way out a couple months, you just stay along that like that road you set
you
for
know,
yourself, right?
I'm running out of content in 2 weeks. Let's
Yeah.
get another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
in
you
there,
wouldn't.
right?
You don't set a month of content and then wait for it to expire and scramble.
Yeah.
You set a month of content, or first you set 2 months, and then when you're a month out, you keep yourself a month ahead, right?
That's the
So
smartest way to do it.
these tools are huge for that, and yeah, they have ton of analytic
Data.
value as well, right? Like you can track your engagement at a glance across all your platforms rather than having to pull up each one individually.
Yep.
And you can kind of compare your efforts versus your competitors, because a lot of these tools allow you to track what your competitors are doing, track their engagements as well, and then you can see just at a glance quickly, okay, my stuff's either not doing what it should or it is doing better, right?
And so who's the best provider for something like this?
There's no you can type in
Hootsuite.
Hootsuite.
The Meta one as well has their own.
Meta's got their own kind of social dashboard now, but it's only obviously good for Facebook and Instagram.
Exactly. You can't do TikTok.
Hootsuite's one, Preview's one. There's one called Blabber. There are a ton of these things. SEMrush has one.
Oh wow.
So there's really no shortage, and there's disruptors that come in and try to do it and say undercut or try to roll out a funky new feature. We can do reels now with our scheduling tool, right? There's a lot of long story short, find the one that works for you, right? They'll have different pricing models, different features, but there will be one that kind of checks the boxes for you. Yeah. Okay. So huge is to find a software like that. And then the last thing to do is or the last piece of software to consider is a content planning thing, right?
So how does that differentiate from content scheduler?
So this would be more about coming up with your ideas, and less so about what you've done after you've got the content, right? So there's a couple different things to consider here, but what you need to do is get some type of content calendar going, right? And this is going to kind of blend into our quick tips. So maybe let's call this quick tips now. But a content calendar is huge. It's a blend between software and content ideas. Yeah. But basically what it is that it's so easy to get lost in the chaos of I have 8 different channels I'm supposed to be posting on. I've got these short form videos that are good for TikTok, but they're crappy for LinkedIn. I've got this blog article that I'm not going to post on Instagram because it's too boring, right? You can get lost pretty easy. A content calendar basically is a giant spreadsheet that has the dates on the left, all your channels on the right, and what you're doing on a daily basis or a weekly basis to stay organized. Right. It's something that we do on behalf of all our clients when we're posting on for them, and it's something that we suggest everyone does. You can easily make changes, right? Yeah. You don't need to be worried about what's coming up. You don't need to remember, do I have something for this next holiday that's around the corner? It's Mother's Day coming up. Do I have something for that? You will know, right? And especially if you're working in a team, right? If you're a business owner, you're listening to this, you're thinking, well, I will know. If you have a social media staff, if you have a content person working for you, if you're us, right, where we have multiple people posting on our behalf, anytime you have more than one cook in the kitchen, this is so big because
at a glance
it's at a glance and it's collaborative, and there's no way for you to not know what's going on, right? Granted, everyone actually uses the thing, but that's a different conversation. The other quick tip, or not the other, but another quick tip is to create content silos for yourself. So we call it a content silo. Okay. But that's basically making sure you have a healthy mix of types of content within your overall content mix. Right. So think about entertaining versus sales, right? It's very tough to put out something that's exclusive. Let's start this one from the top.
Okay.
Because I felt like I cut you off anyways.
So you want to go to quick tips?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk about the content calendar again. May as well. Get a little bit of water.
So, I guess you'll handle the cuts on that. So, yeah. Where to start it? I'll just start. Let's talk about content calendar or content planning tools.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nico, how is a content planning tool different from a content scheduler?
Okay, so a content scheduler would be used once you've made all your content. You know, you've got your ideas made, and now you're ready to kind of disseminate them, right? Your content calendar or your content planning, that's before the fact, right? So these are ways to brainstorm, get creative, and B, get organized, right?
Okay.
This is kind of going to blend nicely into the quick tips section that we've got coming up next, which is a content calendar, why that's so useful for you. And it's because it's so easy to get lost in the chaos and kind of give up, right? We talked about picking a platform, picking the types of content that you're going to put out on those platforms.
Yeah.
But if you are using multiple channels, you know, it can be frustrating or easy to accidentally post the fun thing on the professional channel and vice versa.
Yeah. Or misposting something in total.
Yeah, exactly. You spend all this time getting something put together and then you don't actually put it out. Like, you know, talk about a waste of time, energy, and money, right?
Exactly.
So a content calendar is essentially like a spreadsheet. It's got your dates coming down one side. It's got all your channels coming down the other side. And you plug in. This is the post that's going to come out on Monday. This is coming out on Tuesday. This is the channel we're pushing it out on. And then whoever's doing the scheduling, because this is a huge thing if you're operating as part of the team, right? If you're collaborating with one or more other people, a content calendar is like a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not the person that's scheduling everything in advance, you can be putting things in the content calendar and they can be referencing that as they fill out that kind of posting tool.
Right.
It also allows you to plan super far ahead, right? Like if you think about people around the holidays, for example,
Start
right?
to scramble, thinking about ideas to post for Christmas or Mother's Day or whatever it may
Right,
be.
yeah. And you think, do I have anything coming out for Mother's Day? Well, you would know because you can check your content calendar and you can see if someone created and scheduled something for you, right? And if you don't, you can start to use your content calendar as a way to kind of build out in advance, right? Because ideally, you're working 1 or more months in advance, right? When you do your very first initial lift, maybe do 2 months worth of content through this calendar and through any posting tools you're using.
Get a few months ahead.
Yeah, get a few months ahead. And then once you've got about 1 month of lead time, right? You're 4 weeks into this work you've already put into it. Keep that buffer going, right?
Yeah.
So
you're not scrambling.
Yeah, you will never find yourself scrambling. You won't find yourself putting out low effort or low quality content just for the sake of getting something out, right? You hear that a lot. Oh, I got to get something out. Well, if you have a calendar and you're planning ahead, you will have things that are coming out and they'll be of like a quality that you're proud to put out, right?
Content for content's sake.
Yeah,
you
that's
always say that one.
Yeah, that's something you really want to avoid is just putting out something because I haven't recently.
Yeah.
Like if that's the level of thought that's going into your content, then of course it's not going to work, right? You see a lot of people, I was doing social media for 2 months and I didn't get anything. It's like, well, you put out one thing a week and it was like a meme you found on someone else's page, right? Like you got to have a little bit of value to your stuff.
Yeah.
And speaking of not doing content for content's sake, the next quick tip I wanted to touch on is creating content silos.
Content silos. I know this is somewhat of a buzzword that you've kind of came up with within the company. I'm not sure if that's industry or...
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's kind of like my own brainchild. But it's, content category, content silo, content pillar, whatever you want to call it, right? Where we have kind of these four pillars of content.
Silos.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever
right?
you want to name
where
them.
there are different categories within each.
Right.
What that would mean, or why you would do that, is because not every piece of content is in purpose of the same goal, right? Like your social media approach needs to have your end business goals in mind.
Yep.
While also managing to grow your page so that more people are being served that content that you want them to eventually purchase from, right? You can't just do the buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this.
I see that all the time.
Yeah, it's a big mistake, right?
Exactly.
You can't just fire that across someone's feed because A, they'll tune you out,
Yep.
and B, you'll never grow your page because no one's signing up to be sold, right?
So you need to do education, you need to do sales, you need to be doing, you
Yeah,
name
exactly.
them all, but like you need to mix and match.
Yeah.
And if you do the same one over and over again,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
going to be missing out on the features of the other ones.
Right. Like, in a nutshell, it comes down to like doing only fun and entertaining content does not help to push your agenda, does not close business for you.
No.
You see a lot of younger people make this mistake where they love the likes that they're getting. They see the numbers going up and like, keep doing that. We got to keep doing this. Well, you're getting an audience of people that don't care about the business case of you.
Right.
They just like you, right? And if you do only the opposite of that, you only do the sales and offers stuff, then you're not getting any engagement. You're not growing your page. So you got to do both these things kind of at a similar pace.
Yeah.
So that as I grow my audience, I try to sell them. As I grow my audience, I try to sell them. And there's kind of 4 or 5 kind of pillars, silos.
So we've named 2.
We named 2, right? Educational, which could be like quizzes, marketing quizzes. That's what we do.
Blogs.
When we do a blog, we'll pull some clips from that. We'll put it in a carousel. This, you might be seeing this as a short form video, which is like some type of Inception thing we're doing right now, which is it's an educational clip about making educational clips.
Yep.
So that would be an example, right? If you do a podcast, you do anything like that, being able to clip that.
Right.
Showcasing work is another example of something very similar to this.
That's a great one, yeah. Like testimonials, showing
Testimonials, portfolio, recent projects that you've completed, right? If you do anything with your hands, showing, look at what I just made, right? It helps. Both of these things help you appear as an expert, right? You're framing yourself as an expert. Company culture, entertainment, these 2 are very similar as well.
That's like the Jamaican
jerk day that we had, right?
Yeah, so Debbie Ann made us a delicious Jamaican feast.
Oof.
Our office administrator, it was so good. But we turned that into an opportunity for content, right? Just to show, hey, we're having a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Showing like, Debbie's from Jamaica, letting her kind of like
show her culture.
kind of expose us to it. And letting kind of a glimpse behind the curtain, right? That we are fun-loving people.
Personable.
Yeah. This type of thing, you're trying to paint yourself as someone who your audience would want to do business with, right?
Yeah.
That's the big thing is, you don't want to come across as a bunch of stiffs that are just posting one thing over another. So that could be fun, but it could be like charity-based stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like we do some good work with the SPCA. So if you're an animal lover, hopefully, you can like appreciate what we're doing and think a little higher of us than maybe you would have if we never showed you that that's something we do, right?
Give us your business.
Exactly. And then the last pillar is that promotional offer based pillar, right? Which is
you're pushing sales.
You're pushing
you got a new
sales.
product that came out. You're just trying to get a sale.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And you can kind of mix and match too, right? Like you can have something that's entertaining, but also you're pushing sales.
Yeah.
Right. Like for example, we did a shoot one day, and me and Sydney went and we did it on the skating rink. And I went and did like a big fake fall, and then she went and hovered over, and I was like, buy a website. And it was like entertaining, but somewhat salesy at the same time.
Yeah. It doesn't. You can have things that fall into multiple
They
silos.
mesh, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about SMART goals, and what does that mean, and how can our audience apply that?
Okay, so that's our third quick tip that we wanted to kind of run by you guys. So it's so easy to kind of lose interest in doing social media because you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, right?
Content
You heard it's
content.
something that you have to do, and then you hate it. So setting SMART goals, SMART meaning specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. These are goals that, have kind of like a finish line in mind. So for example, we want to hit 10,000 people on each platform on a monthly basis, right? That is a goal that you can measure, that's rooted in time, and it's realistic.
Especially you can measure it with those systems,
those software
softwares
tools
that we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
So.
Or, we want to get 4 DMs, we want to get 100 website visitors through our organic social media on a monthly basis. These are things that you can actually like look back at,
They're
right?
tangible, right?
Yeah. And it allows you to kind of see where this is going. Right? Like a lot of people lose their interest in social media because they think it's meant to do something it's not, right? They think it's like, Okay, I'm gonna make a couple posts, then I'll make a couple sales.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not
it's
that
a
easy.
longer term play.
It is an extremely long play.
It's a long play, and we've said it a couple times throughout the show so far, but it's like community building thing,
Absolutely.
right? And not just with customers, not just with prospects, but with your clients as well, right? Like if you have customers, if you have clients that you've already kind of established and worked with in the past, then you want to be following these people. You want them to be your biggest cheerleaders, like in the comments, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that looks great. I love what you guys did for me, because other people are going to see that.
Exactly.
And they're going to want that same treatment, right? It also, like someone who's maybe not a client yet, but you've already engaged with, you can use this as a possibility to kind of like keep touching base, keep warming that lead for yourself. There's a lot of different things, besides I just want to make posts and make sales, that, this community that you're building is paramount. That's kind of the main thing.
That's the end goal.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. And I believe that we actually had some questions that were
We
sent in.
We have some questions from some current clients. Let's take a quick break,
Okay.
and then we'll get into those.
Perfect. And we are back. All right, Nico. Question number 1. How can you effectively target your audience on social media and ensure that your message is actually going to the right people?
Okay. Yeah. So we covered this a little bit at the top. This is super persona-based stuff, right? Like when we talk about building a persona, or personas plural, you should be doing this. And if you don't want to do it, it's something that we can do for you, but do it, right? Like you need to know who your customers are going to be.
Yep.
And then you need to consider like where are they going to be on social media?
Yeah.
And you need to consider what they like, right? So it's kind of like a blend of that persona kind of research mixed with doing your content in a medium that they're going to like, and then making sure that it looks the way that they're going to resonate with it, right?
It needs to be the most
If
receptive way. That
exactly.
they-
If you think about it, everybody likes a certain type of thing, right? Like when you're going through your feed, you're scrolling, someone's going to catch your eye, you're going to stop, you're going to watch it, whatever it is. You need to find who your audience is and what that is to them, right? So there's no easy, instant way to do it. The persona exercise is a great way to start, and then it's, trial and error and looking at your reports to see what's actually working.
Perfect. All right. And question number 2. How can my business leverage user-generated content on social media that's being sent in?
Okay, so if it's being sent in, right, let's say it's like videos, someone tags you, reposting those on your story.
That's a
if
great
it's
one.
like Instagram or Facebook, that's huge, right? If it's like someone leaving you a positive review in the comments, you can clip that,
Highlight it.
Yeah, you can bring it into Canva and turn that into like a nice designed thing that matches the rest of your posts.
Absolutely.
Oh, 5-star from this person. This is what they said. If you're using TikTok or any of those other platforms like YouTube Shorts, you can stitch or go kind of side by side with a video of them, and you're kind of like, oh, look at this person doing this with my product.
Yeah, I
If
think
you're-
that answers it more or less, but like, do you have anything else?
I was just going to say, if you're looking for ways to drive more user-generated content,
yeah.
do not be afraid to ask for reviews.
That's so true.
And if you want like more videos, more photos of people using your stuff, contesting is a great way to do it.
Leave us a review.
Yeah, exactly. We will be asking for a review at the end of the show. So what do you say?
Leave your pride behind.
Yes.
And leave and ask for a review.
Yeah.
And the final question of the night. What role does social media marketing play in my advertising strategy? And how can I make the most of my ad spend?
Okay.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. It's a perfect one to wrap things up on. So we always say that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, which means don't put, like say you have a $10,000 marketing budget on a monthly basis. Do not put that all into one thing when you could, and ignore 3 other things.
Right.
Rather than finding money for each of those endeavors, right?
So you're saying diversify.
Diversify what you're doing, and using social media, like organic social media, is a great way to kind of do some kind of audience research, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, your organic posts are a great way to see what your exact audience likes, right? If you put out 4 posts a week and you see the ones that spike,
The carousel spikes. Okay,
Yeah,
now
exactly.
you know that you need to be boosting and running an ad.
it's
for
free
those
market
carousel
research.
posts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're doing Facebook ads and you're doing organic Facebook posts.
Yeah.
Use the aesthetic and the messaging behind the posts that are doing the best to formulate what your ads are saying, right?
That's a great idea, and I think
Um,
that answers that perfectly.
Yeah. Like the other way that this is really good is, most platforms, most advertising platforms
Right.
use like algorithmic machine learning kind of like audience building tools that you can use your organic engagement to populate those. So long story short, if you have a post that goes out and it gets 50,000 likes, you can then use those 50,000 people as a way to prospect new business. So you can say, anyone who liked this post, go find me 400,000 people that are like this.
A lookalike audience.
Yeah,
is what it's
lookalike.
called.
Yeah, and then start serving to those people, right? So you can kind of use this free engagement that you've been getting as a way to find potential people that are like those across the internet.
I believe that's just on Meta, though, correct?
That's like LinkedIn's doing it now too. TikTok ads, you can do it now too.
Incredible.
It's kind of sprawling. It was originally just Facebook and Instagram, but yeah, it's going crazy now.
Perfect.
All right, let's wrap things up. Thank you for tuning into episode 1 of The Marketing Mission with myself, Seth Van Dale, and Nico Freer. Send in your questions and episode requests. You can find us on social medias. Where else can they listen to this podcast?
Okay, great question. YouTube, we're on YouTube.
Yep.
Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere where you subscribe to podcasts, we will be there.
Perfect.
And don't forget to leave us a 5-star review, please and thank you. We told you we would be asking. We are now asking. Helps drive us up the charts, helps keeps us going. Please, please, please.
Awesome. And feel free to also visit our website. If you are looking to get an actual expert to handle your marketing going forward, you can actually book a consultation with us completely free. We'll give you a full marketing audit on how we think we can come in as professionals and help you out. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Thanks.